Good day everyone, a Fistful of Goats here, and this week I'm going to be redoing one of my older videos, the top 10 strongest decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! History. Mostly because when that video was made, this deck had not been released yet, Tearelements. I took the deck to locals tonight, went okay, 2 and 2, would have been feeling one if I hadn't gotten a very badly timed DD Crow put on me. So let's take a look. Starting off, we have 3 Rhino Hearts, and no, I did not make this deck just to show off my ulties. When this card is normal summoned, it can dump a Tearelement to the graveyard, and when it's in the graveyard, you can dump a Tearelement from your hand and bring it back, but it gets banished when it leaves the field. So this card is the best start in the deck with all the other cards at 1. It can dump a Tearelement to start off the fusion combos. It's also level 4, so it can swap rank 4s. And all the builds play 2 of this. The reason I'm playing 3 is to get a chance of milling it with my tier name, so I can make Kaleido Heart better. Then we have one of each of the names: Havness, Sharon, and Merly. Sorry, Master Duel players on that one. These cards are how we make our fusions. You dump them in the grave, they shuffle cards back into your deck, and make whatever fusion what you want to make with them. Out of the 3, Merly is the weakest. All she does is mill and fuse, milling 3 and then fusing. Sharon can be summoned by pitching a card from your hand to the graveyard, so she can set up other tier plays, she can dump the Ishizu cards, etc. And she's also level 4, so she can also help make rank 4s if necessary. And Havness is the best of the bunch because she's a hand trap and can be summoned during your opponent's turn if they activate a monster effect. Meaning that, yes, in some cases you can window lock your opponent going second, which is pretty brutal. Again, these cards should definitely never come back from 1 because they're powerful as heck. Speaking of which, next we have 2 Tearelements Kashtira and 2 Kashtira Fenrir. I borrowed the second one from a friend at locals. So this card is pretty much another copy of the Ishizu cards. When it's summoned, it mills 3. When it's at the graves, it mills 2. So 5 mills overall, like the 2 Ishizu millers. You summon this card by banishing another Tearelements card. So what you do is you activate one of the trap or spells in the grave, then banish it, summon this. Or you can summon it off Kashtira Fenrir if it's on your opening hand. Fenrir not only gets this on the field, but by itself is disruption, because it can banish a monster when the effect goes off. Again, another ulti, and I would definitely be keeping the place engine until Fenrir goes to 1. Then I'll probably just play 3 of these, because I don't think 1's really worth it. Next up we have 1 Mudora, 1 Keldo, 1 Ajido, and 1 Kelbeck. Yeah, I know everyone calls it a Guido, but it was called a Jido on the show. Anyway, these 2 will mill us 5 when they hit the graveyard, and these 2 will shuffle 3 cards back into the deck. So basically these are how we get our tiers in the grave consistently, because milling of the 10 cards is almost guaranteed to hit it. In addition to this, these cards get sent out to the field by sending these to the graveyard, making opening them up not a brick anymore. Not a brick. So what you can do is you can summon this, dump this, mill 5. If you've got level 4 on the board left, you can make a Bistwalla or another rank 4. Next we have 1 Poly and triple King of the Swamp. So obviously Poly is here so you can dump King of the Swamp to the graveyard, and then it can make any of your fusions that I can replace the name of, allowing us to get access to cards like Grapha, Rukalos, even though Kalos is banned, etc. It's also an Aqua, so it can also help us make this more easy. There's more monsters, but I want to show the rest of the tier cards first. So 3 Pelarino. This card is insane. On activation, it can add a tier card from deck to hand. It gives all monsters a boost. And we shuffle the monster back into our deck, we can pop a card. So not only is this card really good, it also gives us some protection from Nightmare Unicorn, because it doesn't matter how the cards fuse back into the deck. Then we have 2 Scream, 2 Soliak, 1 Meta Noise, and 1 Trivakala. So with these ratios, 2 Scream because it gives all our Tearelements after the first one an additional mill 3. And also within the graveyard, it can add any of these to our hand. Trivakama is just here as a pseudo terraforming to get to Pelarino. Soliak, on the field, it's an effect available once per turn. I was sent to the graveyard, it can add a monster, which helps us get past the one-off restriction. And Metanoise is a Book of Moon on the field that can also stun another tier to the graveyard. Okay, instead of our tier engine, 3 Herald. This card can send any fairy from deck to grave to boost its level by that fairy's level. So you can send an Aegido or a Kelbeck, and then this comes to level 6. Then you get 5 mills, and if you have something like a Destiny Malicious, which is our next card on the list, we can then make a Beatrice and get a guaranteed tier fusion. Also, I want to say this engine flipping hates me. I was almost hoping either 2 of it, or one of it could get bashed with a runic card, or I'd build them both so I couldn't get them back, or something. Again, I'm not going to cut this engine because it's the best way to get to Beatrice, but God, it can be frustrating sometimes. Next up, the Shaddoll package, 1 Beast and 1 Hollow. Beast is here for drawing as a card. Hollow acts like another copy of Cashier Tearelements because it mills up to the number of attributes on the field, which means we can usually get, we've got dark, we have water, we have earth, and we have fire. So that's potentially 4 hits, which is almost as good as Nishizu Miller. Then some texts, 1 Night Sword Serpent and 1 Zephyr and 1 Zephyrus the Elite. These cards come back from the grave when they're sent there, so if they're milled, they're extenders. They can help us make our rank 4s. Also, big darks and waters, they can help make some of the fusions. And finally, the Foolish Trio, 1 Burial and 2 Goods to dump monsters and back row respectively. That's it, 40 cards. For the extra deck, 1 Rue Kalos and 1 Kaleido Heart, because Kalos is still banned. So basically, you need to use TM1 to make this. This card can negate effects of summon monsters, and it can help us Milkar. And it also sends 1 Tearelement card to the graveyard to continue our combos. This also sends Tearelement cards to the graveyard to spin monsters back into the deck, so it's our own version of Unicorn. Next up, we have 1 Winder, because going first and dropping this is not a bad idea ever, because a lot of decks find it impossible to play around that. Next, we have our Garua and our Dangerous. These are pretty much just here to make Beatrice, but Garua can also help us if we open up a Havness. Going second, we can summon this, sit on it, and possibly get another card draw to start the turn. 1 Mud Dragon, which is helpful to make our rank 4s, can also be decent protection. 1 Grapha and 1 Dr. Spelia. These are 2 of our big fusions. They both offer negates. Dr. Spelia puts a token on a monster, reducing its level and negating its effects, and Grapha can turn 1 effect into discard a card, which helps us turn a pretty bad effect into another tier fusion, hopefully. For our links, we have 2. 1 Cross Sheep, 1 Sprint. Sprint's here mostly just to dump melee to the graveyard, and Cross Sheep is here to get back our level 4s from grave to make XCs once we get our fusions online. For our Synchro, very basic, 1 Baron. You make this with a level 4 and a Herald. And for our XCs, 1 Baguska, in case things really go south. We should just sit on a floodgate for a couple of turns. 1 Abyss Dweller for mirrors and other decks to use the graveyard. 1 Tempting Freedoer, which I don't actually have, I borrowed that one. Which is good at stealing cards from the opponent. It protects you, it has a remove. And of course, Beatrice, because she is the best Foolish Burial, not even Foolish Burial. She can dump 2 Tearelements over 2 turns. She's very hard to beat over. And finally, for our side deck, which I will definitely be changing in the future, because this deck was kind of thrown together last minute. Anti-Spell, this is to deal with Runics, because bashing a bunch of your Tearelement cards is one way ticket to losing. Which of course means I milled all 3 of these. 1 card I brought in against Runic. 3 evenly matched. 2 go second to clear away floodgates. And to break balls that our main deck can out. 3 back row hits to deal with things like Macrocosmos, D-Fisher. 3-dimensional barrier to deal with other fusion decks, or things like Sword Soul, and finally 3 Solemn for going first. So yeah, this deck is definitely taking a hit on the ban list, but it's still very powerful. However, if you want to see it at full power, tune in either today, so either tomorrow or later in the week, where we do the top 10 strongest decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! History. See you guys then.